Welcome to Real Deal. I'm Tara.
And I'm Giselle.
And this week we are talking about a movie we are both really excited to cover, Anora, the 2024 film directed by Sean Baker. Anora, a young sex worker from Brooklyn, gets her chance at a Cinderella story when she meets and impulsively marries the son of an oligarch. Once the news reaches Russia, her fairy tale is threatened as the parents set out for New York to get the marriage annulled. This movie stars Mikey Madison, Mark Eidelstein,
Edelstein.
Karen Karegulin, Yura Borisov, Vache Tov. Listen, I'm struggling. I'm so sorry if you're Russian and listening to this. I really apologize.
Some of them are Armenian.
Oh, I'm sorry if you're Armenian. I think this guy is Russian, though. Vache Tovmasian, Lindsay Normington. I gotta mention Ivy Wolk just because of the Twitter backlash lately.
Oh my god. So, do we start with the Twitter backlash?
No, okay, we'll get there later.
So this movie has a 4.2 star rating on Letterboxd, and I absolutely am in line with that. I give it a 5, and
I gave it a 5. Yeah, I loved it. I really adored this movie. There's been so much Oscar buzz about this since Cannes. This won the Palme d'Or this year, so that is pretty much like the movie of the entire festival for those of you not familiar. So it's been a long time coming that we've wanted to see this. It's been getting a lot of noise, and I really love Mikey Madison, and I haven't really seen her be able to flex her chops in anything like this before.
Yeah, this is really amazing and pulls on a lot of different emotions. It's also like very comical too, and it breaks a lot of like the anxiety and tension. I feel like a parallel for this is kind of Uncut Gems.
Yes, I've seen a lot of the Uncut Gems comparisons.
Really?
And I think that that's accurate. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I think that that is very correct. Sean Baker, this is not his first film kind of talking about sex workers either, and kind of detailing the life of sex workers and kind of paralleling that to the American dream. He does the same thing in like Red Rocket, and also Tangerine. So I think those are good comparison films for people to check out if you want to watch some of his other films.
He also did Florida Project, right?
Mm-hmm. He did Florida Project. What I think is so cool about this movie, though, is how much respect and detail you can tell goes into the research that Mikey Madison did for the lives and like work of sex workers.
Mm-hmm.
Girl didn't know how to twerk. Like, she didn't know how to twerk. She had to learn how to pole dance. She did not speak Russian at all. So she did a lot of really hefty research, and two of the other strippers who are casted alongside her are actual sex workers, along with actors Diamond and Lulu. And I think it's really cool because you can see so much of that respect pour into her performance.
Yeah. And I think that Sean Baker's work, especially in Tangerine, have you seen Tangerine?
I haven't.
It's an incredibly touching movie that follows a couple of sex workers and their lives on the street almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like, it doesn't, I don't know how to say it, but like, not, it, I feel like sometimes some movies like, was it Hustlers with J-Lo? Like sometimes it can glamorize, like overly glamorize the lifestyle.
Wherever
And then I feel like
J-Lo's
other
concerned.
people like really like Pretty Woman in it, and they're like, I don't know, they're like, oh yeah, you live on the streets and you have no money and like you're jumping over fences.
I know what you're saying.
Like,
I know what you're saying.
It's either two polar opposites.
Yeah.
This is someone who's like doing well, like decently well in sex work, but like, you know, she still lives with her sister like by the train, and like it's just, I don't know. It's really well told, and it doesn't feel like it was,
it's not offensive.
to like it didn't pigeonhole it at all.
Yeah, I don't think that it was like incredibly demeaning, and I
Mhm.
think there's moments in the film where it's like we could have gone that direction but didn't. And that
Yeah.
is one of the main criticisms I have seen of this movie with Sean Baker, is people being like, oh well, like profiting off of like female pain and like female like mishaps happening to her and blah blah blah, you know. And I think that that's a valid criticism to have when you have movies directed by men and movies
Mhm.
directed by white men, but I don't feel like that's really the case. This is really Anora's story.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Mikey Madison is really at the helm telling it.
And I think that Sean Baker is in touch with the community. He's in touch. I don't know if Sean Baker is part of the LGBT community in any way. I don't know much about him other than seeing Tangerine in the Florida Project. Yeah, well, there you go. But, I mean, clearly he's in touch with the community and wants to give it a voice in some capacity. And I think that I appreciate any director that is willing to put those stories at the forefront of their work.
Yeah, it doesn't feel predatory to me. I don't feel like we have a Sam Levinson situation here.
No.
You know, because that's just such a different lens. And you look at that and you're like, something's off here. Something's weird here. All these actors seem a little traumatized, but Mikey Madison is like, next time Sean Baker makes something, like, I would love to be in it. You know, so much I really adored about this movie. We can really get into, like, the meat of the plot. Something I thought was interesting is that he was heavily inspired by Fellini's Knights of Lycoberia. I think that's how you pronounce it. A very similar story about an extremely optimistic young woman who's a sex worker, actually Fellini's wife. And she has all these, honestly, pretty terrible things happen to her, but she kind of tries to stay optimistic the entire film. And I know that Sean Baker was really inspired by that. And I think Anora is very similar in the sense that, like, you could tell things are not working out the way that she wants them to, but she's like, no, I'm going to get my fairy tale ending. Like, I'm going to get the ending I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that we also see somebody, too, who's, like, at odds with themselves, wants better, and I feel like it, just in general, like, the thematics of this movie are, like, really relatable. You know, as a woman, I feel like a lot of those same sentiments, like, especially a woman who has, like, I'm gonna get real candid with y'all, like, a woman who has, like, been out of touch with my own sexuality, you know, and, like, almost used, like, that as a currency.
Yeah.
And, like, feeling like I owe somebody something.
Yeah.
You know, and, that ending was, like, really, like, relatable, because, like, I'm like, yeah, low-key, like, been there.
Yeah. I think it's really relatable, unfortunately. I don't do sex work, and so it's like I can't relate from that perspective, and I don't want to speak for, you know, women who do.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of, like, a woman learning your place in society, leading with your body, and, like, people choosing how they value you based on your body and what you can provide for them, and having things feel so transactional, even when that's not where you're coming from, is a very relatable feeling, especially being a young girl and feeling like, okay, maybe this one's my forever. Like, maybe this one's my person. And it's like, no, actually, girlfriend, get your clothes back on. He didn't want you, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I want to clarify too, I don't come from a sex work background, but I think that exactly what Tara said, you know, finding your place and, like, going through relationships that feel transactional, sometimes it just feels like that, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think I wanted to talk about one of my favorite parts of the movie. Is there anything you didn't like before we move on?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
I was a little hesitant on her Brooklyn accent.
I kind of loved it.
I did end up loving it.
A fraud marriage.
A fraud marriage.
So good. So good. I'm going to be saying that forever. Yeah, I don't love Ivy Wolk. So
yeah,
that's my only criticism.
Everyone
perhaps
was on Twitter talking about how her performance was really poor.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think she's such a minor character that it didn't even matter to me.
I don't think she was on screen long enough for me to think it was good or bad.
I didn't even think it was good or bad.
Not a good person, and that's a separate issue.
Yeah, that is completely separate to her being, like, racist and shit.
Yeah, her performance was fine. I don't know. She was just, like, a friend of, like, Vanya's.
Yeah,
it wasn't
just,
really
like,
not convincing either way. Like, it was fine.
And no one else in those other supporting roles were as good or bad as her, you know?
I'm not looking at nobody other than Mikey Madison and Borisov, who plays Igor, I believe, right? He's a big deal in Russia as well. He's, like, a big actor there.
He's so good.
Yeah, he was. He's in the Palme d'Or winning movie of 2021 as well, and I think that's where Baker took notice of him. And speaking of him, one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because I think it's such a a pivotal scene. It kind of takes that, it's the uncut gems moment, is when they're trying to tie her up and restrain her because Vanya has abandoned her.
Yeah.
And it's this moment that is like, when you're on the outside looking in, hilarious, obviously. Like, it's funny, it's chaotic, there's a lot going on, but it's also really sad. And you see that, like, Ani is going through it. Like, she's having a terrible fucking time. They're literally damn near assaulting her, like kidnapping her, basically, and like restraining her in place. And I think that is peak performance from Mikey. The way she's like screaming and everything. Fun fact: Sean Baker noticed her because of her performance in Scream, which is really random to me. But he was like, "Oh, the way she screams! Like, I really want her to audition for this." So real. As a Scream fanatic, that's very real.
Scream queens rise up.
Scream queens rise. But I really think that scene is so important because at the end it really ties it all together, where you're seeing her in the car with Igor and she doesn't know how to thank anybody. She doesn't understand intimacy. Like, she has this very confusing relationship with thanking someone and like,
and also
intimacy.
The situation.
Yeah.
It's not like she didn't love him, actually.
No, he's just the one person to be kind to her, and that shouldn't constitute as like somebody that you owe sexually, but that's how she's moved through life, you know, with these transactional relationships. And I think that single tear and like her crying at the end kind of recontextualizes the scene of them kidnapping her, where you're like, haha, this is crazy, like, it's so funny, but actually it's really sad.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate.
Did you not like anything in this movie?
Just Ivy Wolk was the only thing I didn't like.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I loved it. I thought it was stellar. I do feel like Oscar season, I don't think she'll win. Because the Oscars don't do that. They don't do that.
The Oscars don't nominate movies like this.
Really? I think that it'll get a nomination, but I don't think it's going to win. I don't think she will win anything. I think, maybe nominations all around. I don't know about anything else. Maybe like original script or something, but I don't know about her winning.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've got The Brutalist, and that might, you know, they love a time period movie.
We got a lot of good things.
Yeah, so we'll see.
And we got Conclave.
Listen, you guys. It's not a joke out here. Like, I see a Conclave joke every single day, a meme every day, and they're so good.
And I'm grateful for it.
They're so funny. Please go watch that movie. Don't sleep on it. Yeah. I don't think that movie's gonna get much of anything, but it should.
Yeah. And Anora's gotten a lot of hype, so go watch Anora.
Yeah, we love Mikey Madison. She's bad as fuck in that shit.
Love her.
It's great. Please go watch Anora.
Lots of boobies, lots of ass.
Yeah, lots of Russian, very thick Russian accents.
Yeah. Lots of
Brooklyn
Armenian accents. Brooklyn accents.
It is really fucking funny.
It is so hilarious.
It's really funny. And then at the end, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm quite
sad.
I'm
depressed.
I'm quite upset, actually, about that. Especially, I think, if you're watching this and you identify with being a woman. Yeah, time for some self-reflection, methinks. Good movie, though.
Great movie.
Yeah. Catch us next week, you guys. We're moving into award season.